But I wanted to find out more. Other than a name, does goth culture owe anything to Mary Shelley and the Gothic romantic movement? To find out, I went searching for goth. At the Dark Fantasy Gathering, I listened to goth music and talked to people who considered themselves goth.
Goth to me is a variety of many things. It's dark elegance. It's tying together the architecture as well as the fashion, the clothes, the sentiment. Goths are very sentimental people. They pay attention to the stories of the past, going back to the roots and learning where it all came from, where the influences were, how it all started.
People are very morbid in nature. I mean, you look at news, it's all about death and depression and despair. Goths just pretty much bring it out as just another emotion rather than a normal person would hide it and, put it away like that.
I surprisingly found out that I was a goth from when my girlfriend died. Everybody's like, oh, well, you're being all depressive and morbid or whatever. My girlfriend died. That's called nature. But I wear black, so therefore, because I'm depressed sometimes and all that, and I'm a little bit unstable.
Well, it just pretty much means expression. It's how you want to express yourself. I mean, for some people, this is very empowering because they can't be themselves around their normal people. So they come to these things, and this is goth to them.
Goth to me is basically a community of people who embrace the darker aspects of life, but embrace them as a celebration of the life they live, that it's a belief that it could end at any minute, so we should live embracing that as opposed to being afraid of it.
Well, when I was little, I was always interested in odd, morbid things, like to go to cemeteries and things like that, and I kind of kept it, I'm from a rural area, so that kind of thing doesn't fly for a while, and, I got older, and I decided, I guess I found myself, and this is what I'm more like. I'm going to be me, and I feel more comfortable than trying to be somebody else.
It's conforming through nonconformity.
Okay, explain that.
It is a subculture that embraces you for being different. Whatever your difference may be. If you put on your black clothes and go hang out with them, you're welcome.
Now, you don't have to be wearing black clothes though to be a goth. So, essentially, what do you need?
You need to know who you are and to be comfortable with it and not care that these people over here are judging themselves by this standard and these people over here are judging themselves by this standard. There's a wonderful bumper sticker. It says, you laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at you because you're all the same. They're all wearing creations by me, which is, I recently discovered I had a talent for sewing. These are all my corsets and waist cinchers. It's a form of temporary body modification.
In my search for Goth, I found another resource, the Gothic Council of Chicago. This organization was having a meeting at Club Neo, and I was invited to come. I'm here with Slash from the Gothic Council of Chicago. What does your organization do?
We are specifically designed to kind of bring together the quote-unquote dark alternative community, which encompasses Gothic, industrial, electro, EBM, fetish, GLBT kind of segmented populations.
So you basically represent a wide variety of different people.
Yes, we do. Pretty much people who are interested in the kind of music that we're into, and that kind of segues into a lifestyle.
Okay, so the music comes first and then the lifestyle, or is it vary?
They kind of go hand in hand because the music often talks about the lifestyle itself.
Now, how many members do you have?
Our current core membership is about 500.
It's a bit of the dark side, and I guess some people have said that, part of goth is it's like accepting death, and that we're, trying to show in our own ways that we're not afraid of it, and it doesn't make us nervous because there's no reason to be scared of it. Sometimes cultures like to try and move it aside, and American culture is like that. It's not really as up in your face, and it's not a celebrated thing.
Well, Gothic comes from the Romantic period of literature. That's what it means. It's basically a romantic form of art, writing or in architecture or in any other form of art. That's what it means. Now, if you're talking about the pasty-faced people who need to eat sandwiches and probably, get some sun, that's a different story altogether.
Yeah. So for you, where do you draw your inspiration then from that era?
Well, if I'm going to draw from that era, I will draw from Poe. He was a Gothic writer. His writing influenced a lot of Get the quintessential Poe, read The Fall of the House of Usher. That is a completely Gothic story. If you're going to read anything Gothic, that's it.
And what's Gothic about it?
Everything. It's the way the descriptions are. It's how he describes. It builds a mood. From the very first lines to the end, he set out to create a mood. And Gothic kind of wants to do that. It wants to set a mood for you. In that particular story, it's kind of, they want to set a set of depression because that's what you're feeling. He uses words like dank, deep, dark, tarn to describe the moat around the castle. That creates a feeling of sinking miasma. And that's not what Gothic is all about, being depressed all the time, but it's about emotion, deep feelings and deep emotions.
It has to do, you want to understand goth, you want to look at the poetry of Byron. She walks in beauty like the night, of cloudless climes and starry skies. All that is best, dark and bright, meet in her aspect and her eyes. Things like that. Byron wrote a poem about drinking wine out of a dead man's skull, okay? That's a very strange thing to do. What goth is about, there is so much beauty in the night. There is so much beauty in darkness, just like there is so much darkness in what is beautiful. Gothic celebrates the things like was talked about by William Butler Yeats in his poem, The Second Coming, which I haven't got memorized. You should go read it. Okay, and that's about, in one thing, like Christianity, okay, there is the seed of its opposite, okay? It also has to do a lot with the yin-yang, okay? Goth, in the night, in the darkness, in what is the underside of life, there is such beauty, okay? There is such freedom, okay? We who take part in a Gothic lifestyle reject what is normal, reject what is conventional, reject my aunts and my grandmother are always telling me to just get a good job with a corporation. I reject that, and I'm going to be a massage therapist, and I'm going to be an actress and a writer and take my life in the road less traveled by. Okay, that's what Gothic is about. It has its roots in the lost generation of Henry Miller and Anna East Nin. It has its roots in Byron and Shelley. It actually goes all the way back to Gothic architecture. Gothic architecture was, we don't want to build it like that. We don't want to build an arch that just goes that way. We want it to go much higher. We don't like churches that are filled with darkness. We like churches filled with light. We like these beautiful stained glass windows. Goth, all the way back to the very, very beginning, is all about doing things differently.
What should they be reading? If they really wanted to get into goth culture, what should they be reading?
What should they be reading? They should be reading Byron and Shelley. They should be reading Henry Miller and Anna East Nin. They should be reading You know what? Anything that you are told not to read, you should read, because that's what being goth is all about.
One thing I learned tonight: many Goths draw inspiration from a past history, a history that includes Mary Shelley and the Gothic Romantic movement.